In this digital age, a new way we found. Niral Networks, the solution that astounds. Secure, reliable connectivity at its best. High performance, multi-site, private network, no rest. With Niral Networks, we simplify the game, bringing 5G to your fingertips, no more pain. Edge cloud technology, delivering with pride. Always connected, no matter where you reside. Niral Networks, revolutionizing the scene. Secure, reliable, the ultimate dream. In this digital world, we'll never disconnect. Niral Networks, our connectivity perfect.
Yeah, very good afternoon to all, and we welcome to this webinar session. And yeah, so to all the panel members, a very warm welcome, and to all the audience for their time and for joining this webinar session. So the topic, as we have already floated around, is like why industry grade 5G labs are essential for future ready engineering education. A very interesting topic, and we are very happy to see a lot of academia joining uh, to share their thoughts, and let's see how at the end what we can conclude out of this webinar. So let me just start with my introduction. Right, I'm Bhanu Pratap. I'm heading sales here at Niral Networks, and particularly taking care of pre-sales, sales, strategic tie-ups. And yeah, I can say I a career mostly dominated by telecom. So I'm always fascinated by telecom technologies. And today in this webinar, we will discuss on the need and usage of 5G lab setups. That is the primary objective. And we will have four sessions. I'll start with some overview and introduction, and then introduction to each panelist, right? And some time devoted to them to share their thoughts on this topic, and followed by a Q&A round with panelists. And end of the day, we'll have an open house discussion, and we'll have some question and answers from the audience, and we'll have an interactive, session to end. So just few minutes I'll take just to set the context, right? So we all know it has been a wonderful initiative by Department of Telecom in setting up 5G use case lab in universities and colleges across India. The journey has been exciting, challenging, right? Because it was just a start for all of us in the 5G era. As startups, as industry, as academia, it was just a start maybe 3 years back for us. Everybody worked hard, right? And I think today we are at a place where we can now are ready to utilize, right, the real potential of this setup, and to see how we can go beyond this number, what was done by DOT initially. And yes, so the common questions are why these labs are important, how they will empower skilling, research, fuel startup ecosystem. Is it what that all we are going to discuss today in the webinar, right? And we'll have to see. So we have panelists from academia already introduced who are using these startups in their campuses, and also industry perspective, right? Who are actually architecting and deploying these industry grade 5G use case setup. So it's a very good blend here today, right? The user is there, the creator or the architect is there. Sorry, not the creator, but the architect is there. So let's see. And just to touch on, everybody knows, right? The 5G. What is 5G? 5G is a technology. It has capacity to enable lots of use cases, right? On low latencies, high bandwidth. And we being a young country, right? We are seeing a lot of startup ideas. So comes the need of such setups where we can go test and validate our devices and use cases, right? And then further do pilots or the commercial deployment. So before you do that, before you go to the industry, you need to be very sure that these are working, because Make in India is a good initiative, and we are all working for that. But industry needs output, right? When they invest, they want things to work, right? So if we are ready and we are confident, I think that would be a great story. And 5G COEs, or what we call 5G lab setups or industrial grade 5G lab setups, they will also, research fuel in research and new innovations and all. So primarily pointers are there, right? It can enhance competencies of 5G technologies in students and professors, hand-on training for better practical understanding of 5G, packet level understanding, use case integration and demonstration. It acts as an accelerator to push the research work with real-time data statistics, right? Helps in development of new use cases, pushing the institutional 5G use case startup ecosystem, uh, for training by industry experts, driving innovation, for new devices, new applications, what the industry need, right? Because we being a, every country has its own set of requirements. So it is not like that something which is working very fine in US and Europe is going to work here, because our needs and our demands are very different. The industry, for example, if we go for a, private enterprise 5G networks in US and Europe, they are more data hungry, right? And they would ask you about industry 4.0 mainly. But when you come to, our own country, so they would ask first whether the voice call works or not. So this is a totally different, right? It's a totally different change. So for them, voice call is more important than industry 4.0. Let's say because of the absence of, the connectivity in those areas. So this is how, so I said I started this, there is a whole new concept of private 5G, enterprise 5G networks, industrial 5G networks coming into Indian market. These will be campuses, where they will make their own networks, their own requirements, their own use cases, devices, and applications. So it would be a, we are seeing it as a whole new ecosystem of applications, use cases, and devices would be needed to support the industry requirements. Uh, so, it's auto, manufacturing, mining, oil and refinery, port, ship, healthcare, this education, everything would be getting evolved towards 5G, right? And the 5G labs will play a key role in enabling the startup ecosystem, because it would give them a place to test, right? And run their innovations, right? Do the testing and debugging of their applications, and then getting ready for the, for the real industrial environments. So we see, and also a catalyst in upskilling, right, for the resources, because that would be also be a demand to, to run these networks, for example, to understand these networks, because enterprises are purely non-telecom, non-telcos, right? So for them, this technology is totally different. So, so there would be a requirement for manpower, for, more, more startups, innovations. So yeah, everything will come into that play. So I think that is the, maybe to just start the context of, what all pointers we'll be touching today. And I'll start with the introduction one by one, and then I would request each panel member to share their thoughts on that. So I'll be starting with Professor Sheila. So Professor Sheila, as you know, is head Wired and Wireless Technologies, COE Artwork, IISc, a background from Electronics and Communication Engineering, and masters from IISc. A technology and a business leader with key contributions to the industry in the areas of data communication over wired and wireless network, cellular communication, and multimedia systems. Have led and anchored and engineering teams toward development and deployment of multiple successful products in the field of wide range of applications such as defense, paramilitary, industrial surveillance, and medical, catering to the worldwide market. Currently heading GOK sponsored, Government of Karnataka sponsored Center of Excellence for Wired and Wireless Technologies at Art Park ISC. Main responsibility being setting up of 5G test and use case labs and evangelizing 5G technology amongst researchers and innovators. Yeah, ma'am. So I think it's a perfect way to start with you, because and tell us, right, how artwork I see is actually, creating the things or the theory things which I have already told, and how is it being enabled at artwork. So let us start with you. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Banu Pratap. Thank you for the introductions. And one quick clarification that I'm not a professor. My experience has been in the industry, and with that as my industrial experience as the background, now I am in Art Park IISc. So just I'm not a professor, just to clarify that.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So do you want me to start or would you like to finish the introduction of all the panel members?
No, I think we can start one by one.
Sure, sure.
You can
Okay.
start and then I'll
Yeah.
introduce others, and that
Okay.
way it would be more related.
All right. Thank you. Thanks once again. Thanks to Niral for organizing this webinar. I think it was very timely because the interactions we have been having with other faculty members from engineering colleges across Karnataka, time and again there have been queries from the faculty about training the faculty, about faculty internship, and the faculty themselves being very keen to know about the 5G setup. I have seen a lot of interest coming from the faculty about replicating a private 5G setup in their own institutions for better training of the students. So I think what Niral organized this webinar, it was very timely. Now coming to the details about the setup here in Art Park IISc. See, Art Park is an incubation hub for startups, mainly working in the area of AI and robotics. And Art Park is mainly supported by DST and Government of Karnataka. And when Government of Karnataka saw the setup at Art Garage, they recommended that their Center of Excellence for Wired and Wireless Technologies, which they wanted to bring up, be housed here in Art Garage. That is the location of Art Park. That is how this the 5G lab here began, and the main objective was to set up a lab where researchers, innovators, students, startups, MSMEs can come and utilize the facility to build use cases and technology for the 5G. That's the background. That's how this setup came about here. And now today, what we have here, of course, the Bharat 5G setup that was to be in Indian Institute of Science, for logical reasons, is placed here so that all users can be consolidated. The management of the setup can be more easier if it is set up here. So we have the Bharat 5G setup here. And to meet our requirements, we also have a parallel setup. For ease of reference, we call it Karnataka Bharat 5G, and this is Karnataka 5G. While most of the faculty here know that the Bharat 5G setup, it's more, we call it the Bharat 5G use case lab. That means any use case that gets developed for 5G, it is built, the setup is very amenable for testing the use cases, demonstrating the use cases. Now, there are also good set of students, researchers, and startups who want to develop technology for 5G. Okay, I will give a couple of examples. One of the examples is Wi-Fi offloading. What exactly is Wi-Fi offloading? As we know, certain indoor areas, 5G coverage is not very good, but Wi-Fi coverage is there. And also, as we know, the CapEx and the OpEx requirements for Wi-Fi is lesser. When users are using the Wi-Fi, they're not charged for it, while they get charged when they use the 5G. So overall, where the 5G coverage is not great indoors, the user experience is also not good. So instead of manually the user changing from 5G to Wi-Fi, can it be automated? Can it be seamless? As the user moves from outdoors to indoors, can his connectivity be automatically moved from 5G to Wi-Fi, and all the data handling be done on Wi-Fi, so that the congestion on the 5G is reduced, the coverage is enhanced, at the same time the user experience is increased. Now, such a use case, if we want to test, we will naturally need an industry-grade 5G setup. Another example I would like to take is, let's say some very specific use cases. Let's say we have a simple camera streaming application over 5G. And we all know that the video that is streamed over the camera, to store it, to record it, it takes a lot of volumes of data. So is it necessary to stream high volume from the camera all the time if we are doing a surveillance application? Maybe not. We can stream very low video, low resolution video, and build in certain AI and ML aspects here. Typically keep streaming low volume video, and if there is an activity detected, then increase the video. And to do, how does, to increase the video, we need to improve the QoS requirements on the channel. And to demand high QoS requirements, we need certain network functions like network exposure function that comes in very handy. Do we get these options in simple setup like the Bharat 5G? Not necessarily. So this is another example why we need to go for an industry grade setup. For example, in our Karnataka 5G setup, incidentally, we have used the Niral core, and Niral core gives functions like the network exposure function, like the N3IWF, which facilitates seamless movement across Wi-Fi and 5G. And there are additional functionalities like the VONR capability, the QoS support, etc. So I've just given few examples where industry grade 5G lab will be necessary, because students and researchers or innovators tomorrow, when they graduate from the institutions, go into the industry, these are what makes them industry ready, in my opinion. It is not only essential they study about 5G technology. In my opinion, it will be very important for them also to study a little bit about, or get exposure to a little bit about product engineering, the system engineering aspects. How a product actually gets tested before it can be deployed. The exposure for all those things can happen very well when we have an industry grade 5G lab. So this is the overview I would like to give. Maybe we'll discuss more when it comes to QA sessions. Thank you, Banu.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, ma'am. And sure, I think it was a very well, covered one session, because many examples, on a lighter note would give a real, picture to everybody, to students specifically, right? How they should think about, about these 5G lab setups, and what all they can do out of it. Yes, we definitely will have. I think it's a start, and we'll have more thoughts on the same thing. Thank you for that. So now I'll move to Dr. Samir G. Kulkarni, and let me just introduce, and then we'll hear out his thoughts. Is assistant professor, Department of CSC and EE at IIT Gandhinagar, and is a dynamic force in the field of computer science, and serving as assistant professor at IIT Gandhinagar. He is a bachelor's in engineering from NI Mysore, and followed by a master's in computer engineering from University of Southern California, and a PhD in computer science from the University of Göttingen, Germany. And his doctoral work earned him, with the prestigious IEEE TCSC Best PhD Decision Award in 2019. And his research spans a wide spectrum of, cutting edge technologies, including software defined networking, network function virtualization, edge cloud platform, distributed systems, disaster management technologies. And his work has been published in top venues such as ECM, SIGCOM, CoNext, and IEEE Transactions. And before entering the academia part, he has gained a valuable industry experience at Qualcomm in San Diego, where he worked on audio software stacks for Snapdragon processors, and at Tata Elxsi in Bangalore, contributing to the embedded systems for mobile devices, set-top boxes and HDTVs. So a blend of academic rigor and practical expertise enables him to approach problems with a unique holistic perspective. And at IIT Gandhinagar, Dr. Kulkarni leads pioneering projects in cybersecurity, cloud services, high performance switching and routing, IP lookup optimization, and programmable networks. His work continues to push the boundaries, of what's possible in modern computing, making him a standout figure in both research and education. So, yeah, Dr. Samir, I think over to you to just let us know how you've been utilizing the setup, and how do you doing things out of this 5G lab setup.
Yeah, thank you, Bhanu Pratap. I think it was more elaborate description. I'll just say that I'm just in charge of the lab here at 5G Use Case Lab as well. So just to add on that. So, I mean, it's great opportunity. In fact, thanks to Niral for organizing this webinar. And as it was rightly put, this is in fact the right time. Like the vision came long back in 2023 by the DOT and our beloved Prime Minister. But eventually to take shape and have the 5G use case labs that can exercise, I think, like you mentioned earlier, behind the scene, it was more than 3.5 years. But even in front of the scene, it's been like nearly an year that we have to get the 5G 100 labs set up across India. And that speaks of the challenges and the criticality that it brings with respect to having these setup of industry grade 5G labs. So that is the first perspective that I want to put. I mean, thanks to Niral, I mean, we have been very helpful to be running this uh, Niral OS powered 5G use case lab where we have the MEC, the Niral 5G core and the SMO, all of these delivered by Niral. And the thing that I want to highlight is that it's an exciting period because we have transitioned from having done a lot of groundwork that have enabled us to move from bare 5G to a industry grade 5G labs. And that has also opened, if I just speak from the academia perspective, with respect to how this has transformed, and this is transforming, in fact, our students is one, we used to teach the 5G course earlier, the communications course. The students used to have just a theoretical knowledge and they would feel it's very boring. And in fact, half the things they would do is on simulators, at best doing something with NS3 or EV sim, connect some things. But they are not able to really correlate how things are happening on the ground and what it actually takes to build such a 5G lab. I mean, otherwise on simulator, they think everything is easy, right? But then since last year, we had this setup ready and we bring our students to the 5G lab, ask them to understand the things, capture the details that are going on in the background and see it, then they feel super excited about the system. And that is where the hands-on has a lot of impact on the students' learning. And that is what this 5G use case lab actually helps to shape. And in fact, we have seen that students now approach for several of the works that they want to, okay, can we try some things? Earlier, it was like a pale response where you would want to urge them to do something. Now, it's becoming more and more proactive from the student side where they would want to engage. So this is a nice change or a shift that we are seeing because of the 5G use case lab and the exposure of the students to the 5G use case lab. And moreover, they are now getting what it means to say a 5G ecosystem overall in terms of rather than saying, okay, I write some small code and make it work. What are the things that have to really work together? This kind of a holistic understanding is what was missing, which I would say earlier, but now this 5G labs in a way try to fill this gap. Okay, so that is one perspective that I see from the academic standpoint where it is actually benefiting the students. And second, like we also heard from earlier from Sheila that it is actually helping think beyond the boundaries and where people are able to bring their innovation ideas into the case. And in fact, we at IIT Gandhinagar are also seeing some of the students and startup engagements to start to happen because of this 5G use case lab. And just to tell, like one of the aspects is about surveillance. And like it was rightly touched upon, like you don't want to be streaming all the time the high resolution videos. But then how do you control them in real time and also have the management of the slices that would accommodate to build this kind of a facility? And that's where the industry grade 5G lab facilities, which allow you to configure the network slices, ensure what SLAs that you want to guarantee and make the applications to use those configured slices becomes crucial. And that's where students also would be able to learn more about how the slicing works end to end. What does it mean to create a QoS guarantees, how it actually works in the background. And in fact, for the startups, it becomes an easier test bed where they can come, try to configure, set up their environment and then use the 5G thing readily. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to say that I have a solution that is available to be deployable at 5G systems. Right? So we can see from both the perspectives where the 5G for the academia, in terms of the students, for their regular teaching, as well as for the academia and industry for research or developing or putting any innovative stuffs, really is a benefit that's coming out of this 5G lab. And that's where we see that having the need for the 5G industry grade lab setups, not just at the 100, which was a nice vision to start with, but I think over the years we have ripened, and it's time that we take it forward and make this a rich ecosystem across pan India. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Samir. Yeah, I think very important. You said right, practical understanding practical challenges and the usage part. And yes, engineering is all about to see a outcome, right? And it always, if it's a positive one, it always excites, motivates you. Something is coming. Just on a lighter note, right? Just remembered one of my college days. We were doing some program on microcontroller, right? And we were trying hard and nothing was working. Suddenly one of my friends says, he was so excited that something happened on the screen, right? And he said, okay, yeah, excitingly said to the professor, something is coming, sir, on the screen. And the professor said, something will come. You give me the outcome, right? So yeah, the point is that once you see something, you put an input and you get the output. Actually, that is what was missing, and that is what this 5G lab ecosystem is going to do. You put something, and once you see the outcome, that is going to drive the next level of innovation. So thank you so much for your thoughts. We'll move to Dr. Jagdisha R. Bhatt now. He's assistant professor in Indian Institute of Information Technology, Dharwad. He has received the PhD in computer science from National Tsinghua University, Taiwan. Currently an assistant professor at IIT Dharwad, and he had held position of external research at Zayed University, United Arab Emirates, and he leads the 5G use case lab at IIIT Dharwad. And his research interest includes wireless networks, 5G, and yes, beyond 5G, and maybe tomorrow going to 6G. So I think very exciting perspective from professor. We would like to have how this setup and the journey and the experience of setting up this 5G lab setup, and now since it is almost ready to be utilized, how you are looking at it. Yes, over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. And good afternoon, everyone. So let me just clarify that initially I would like to address this question, like why industry-grade 5G labs are essential for future engineering education. Mainly, I think about the institutes who do not have a kind of 5G use case lab or industry-grade 5G lab. For them, I would like to give some pointers to think or to basically to share my experience. What is it like to have a industry grade 5G lab initially? I mean, among the audience, I see some of them are already from the 5G use case labs. Yeah, they know the importance of having a industry grade 5G lab. We all know that 5G is not just a next generation of cellular technology. It's basically digitally transforming various sectors of the society, maybe agriculture or in terms of smart city, autonomous mobility, or remote healthcare, and so on. So as educational institutes, why do we need to go for industry grade 5G labs? That is the big question or the key discussion today. So I would like to say that in this context, since 5G is basically transforming the entire society, different sections of the society, we need to have our students or the researchers or the startups that we have within our institutes. Everybody should be trained, really trained using the real 5G setup. So because the real 5G setup, just an industry grade 5G setup or a 5G use case lab, here we have the 5G being implemented using the standards, what the actual standard says, or the actual infrastructure. not in terms of a simulator or an open source platforms, etc. So this will actually, I mean, if we have a real 5G lab, which is an industry-grade lab, then we'll have the training of how to use them, or when we go out for taking up opportunities in the industry, we will be already having the training of how to use or a RAN, or how to develop or deploy the RAN setup or core or edge server, MEC, and so on. For instance, a large agricultural setup in the North Karnataka, there they use the 5G drones to monitor the soil health or plant growth. Similarly, another hospital in Delhi uses AR, VR, and 5G cameras to offer the remote healthcare services. Also, maybe, I mean, in another instance, a large industry in Gujarat uses IoT, which is connected to their private 5G network for predictive maintenance of different sections of the industry. So basically, these are not actually imaginary instances. So these are all happening these days. Now, the big question is, who develops them? Basically, the future engineers, right? I mean, current or future engineers. So that's the point here, that we need to train our students or researchers in a real 5G setup, so that it becomes easy for them to take up such kind of social challenges that can be addressed with the acquired abilities of working in an actual 5G setup. So this is the clear message I would like to share here, that the significance of having a industry-grade 5G lab for the institutes. Sharing our experiences here, earlier at IIIT Harvard, we had the 5G Introduction to 5G course. It's in the second year right now. Initially, we had no 5G lab, so it was just a theory or with some simulations using open source or other aspects. But recently, I mean, from a few months, this 5G lab is very functional. So we could use the 5G lab, 5G use case lab, what we have for learning in a more involved way when we offer this, or when we study this course, Introduction to 5G. And also students could appreciate using the RAN log, how different initialization process or random access, these processes happen, and what is the data, what protocol being used, at what layer it is happening. All these they could relate actually what they learn in the theory. Apart from that, we could also connect with other institutes in this locality where we could share our 5G lab infrastructure, because it's a 5G lab is basically an end-to-end infrastructure where we have everything: 5G radio, 5G core, and MEC servers, and also some devices to connect to this network. And we could train them, which they had never seen before. So that is one important thing, that we could share this 5G setup, what we have, with the nearby institutes, and we could educate them. Also, we had some faculty development programs where we could address the key challenges of 5G, or we have exposed the technological concepts of 5G with the help of this 5G use case lab as well. And also, our lab currently is serving one of the 5G hackathons problem requirement, that is developing a proof of concept for a specific problem that was introduced in the 5G hackathon that happened throughout. This was a national level 5G hackathon. And also, currently we are spending time in designing VR-based predictive maintenance use case, as well as 5G-enabled drone for future mobility, where we have to do some measurements So these two challenges we are trying to address at the moment. And also, we were able to provide some information, I mean, in terms of network information to the industry, which is well-established industry, where they have proposed some project for the future 6G. They wanted to validate it in our lab, and they were able to measure something, what they wanted to measure using this lab. So this lab also serves the needs of the industry as well, startup as well as well-established industries where they want to test some future technologies. That also they could do. Apart from training the students or helping the students to think about startup ideas that they can develop in 5G test, 5G setup, or serving the nearby institutes or faculty members with respect to providing them an opportunity with the 5G use case lab. So these were the happening so far, and I was happy to share all this with everyone and motivate those who do not have a 5G use case lab to think about investing in the industry grade 5G lab. That's not actually an investment, that is actually the necessity at the moment, because we want to train the future generation with respect to the actual 5G setup, so that they can take up job in the industry and they could actually feel it, what it is to use the real 5G use case labs or 5G industry grade 5G labs in general. Yeah, that's from my side at the moment.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. So very true said. I will just continue from where you have ended. Yes, it's a right time to do the investment, and it's actually, as you said, not an investment. It's a very long-term program, right? And yes, as far as from the industry side, what we see, we can tell power, right, in the development of technology, not technology stacks, how to use this technology, how to run this technology, right, deployment, and many areas are there where this will can. But yes, there is a requirement, and if we have skilled manpower, I think industry would be happy to absorb them. So yes, I think that would be something good. And also, you said hackathon. Yeah, I think one of the right ways of looking the more interesting part to the students, and see how they can utilize these labs, and maybe some innovative use cases and startups applications coming out of this. uh, I think hackathon is one part. I don't know how this is happening, but yeah, maybe just putting my thought that hackathon is one part where you bring all the researchers and ask them to do whatever they want to do in certain period of time, and then select the top one, and uh, like we help them to bridge that to how that can be utilized to the industry, what they are looking at. So the top three or top five innovations being selected, and not only rewarded, but reward is a good thing, but giving them a longer picture that this is what industry is looking at, so that they should put more efforts onto it, right? So I think we that's a good part. Moving out to towards the industry side, although we had a mix of industry and academia already from our panelists. So we move now to uh, Shiva Ramakrishnan, or I said he is better known as Shiva to us, right? And he heads the technology at Niral Networks, and he has more than a remarkable career, industrial experience of 25 years, and encompasses scaling established organizations and contributing to the foundational teams of startup ventures. Shiva has played pivotal roles in technology implementation and deployment, notably in the groundbreaking projects such as 4G WiMAX at Telsima and Cavium. And throughout his career, he has been effectively leveraged IT to enhance operational efficiency and drive bottom line growth, particularly evident in his tenure at Postmedia. And he holds a bachelor degree in engineering with a specialization in computer science from CIT Coimbatore. and he has also pursued PGHPM in General Management from Great Lakes Institute of Management, Chennai. Adding to this strategy acumen, and at Niral, he's all we have that, he's been very instrumental in, in setting up these 5G labs, right? And he knows, how and when, what are the challenges we have done to create these labs. So let's have an industrial perspective about, the deployment and installation side of these use case labs and how this has been done so far. So over to you, Shiva. You can share your thoughts.
Yeah. Thank you, Banu, and welcome everyone once again. And we really hope this webinar is quite interesting for you. So, establishing these 100 5G labs in which we had contributed to more than 50% was a great experience to us. Be it, I would say, stabilizing our product or interacting with the faculty and students at all the campuses, be it part of training or be it part of acceptance test phase, rollout of features, demonstrating stability, etc. And this also gave us quite a good opportunity to work with a lot of ecosystem players like device OEMs and various solution providers in rolling out a good private 5G solution at campuses. So, and you all have, many of you would have already experienced that at your campuses in terms of trying out features, connecting phones, and trying out some advanced features that are part of the 5G ecosystem. And simultaneously, we also have this opportunity of rolling out private 5G as part of enterprises. And we have rolled out across various domains, be it coal mines, be it power grids, be it part of military training centers to try out some solution as part of the armed forces. And we are also many deployment in terms of rolling out to more general audience as part of fixed wireless solutions. So working with the industry, we have quite a bit of insight in terms of technology, in terms of usability of the solution, and basically how the adoption of 5G can transform into advanced 5G and 6G in the years to come. So let me highlight some of the point on technology roadmap, which would also give an insight in terms of how these 5G labs can be used more effectively and what are all our suggestions to take it to the next level. Let me take a few examples. Say, when you compare 4G and 5G, the biggest lever, I would say, where even operators have not completely utilized is the usage of network slice. So many features starting from quality of service to segregation of users, segregation of applications can all be tried out from this perspective. And another aspect can be how edge cloud can be leveraged. Say we are, I would say, at a cusp of how edge analytics, where AI, which is being part of many initiatives from the student and the faculty community today. I was also part of a DOT organized hackathon, and about 70% of the entries there are addressing this aspect on how AI can be used to leverage various solution deployment. So this is a good time where these edge AI related initiatives can be taken forward, and those can be quite effectively used as features in 5G Advanced and 6G. And there are also many additional spaces opening up of how you can integrate third-party applications, starting from charging to what was earlier highlighted on how intelligently you can drive video analytics, depending upon the situation. And Sheila also covered about how 3GPP and non-3GPP interworking are taking center stage. Many labs, research facilities are focusing on that. So I just gave some instance of technology roadmap or some points from there, so that to highlight that these are all the I would say the activities which will take momentum. And we are at a stage technologically between 5G and 6G. And a lot of these technology roadmap will mature further. And for that, the entire campus community, be it students, professors, they can start using these 5G labs, try out many applications to try out the advantage of better latency and higher throughput, and use edge very effectively at all these 100 labs. You have a very good advanced edge platform. And last, I would like to point out a fact that one of the way these 5G labs can go forward is to focus on a specific sector, like be it manufacturing, be it mining, be it solution for defense, be it a solution for agriculture. There are a lot of initiative being talked about at various government and private sector, at research institute, to take solutions as part of intelligent villages. So focusing on one sector will help identifying the problems, working on use case. This can be a additional support system for the startups emerging in that space, and also develop solutions and devices for that particular sectors and try it out. And we are always there for the universities and campuses to try out any of these solution back at our customer place if it is found quite suitable. So Banu, I'd like to end it here, and thank you for that opportunity. And I really hope everyone takes full advantage of these 100 5G labs forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Shiva. I think you're the key guy, right? Because because you've been instrumental in deploying these labs, right? And how to create these labs and how to make them work, right? So I think that was a good perspective. Yeah, your last point would be the cue to start maybe the next session. But before that, I would just request the audience that they can post their questions in the chat section, and if possible with their name and college organization, so that at the end of the day we can have a Q&A open house session for the discussion. So yeah, so I think it was quite interesting, to have a free flow of thoughts about these 5G labs, about how they can be, how they are set up, and how these things can be utilized. So yeah, and moving from here, the next session we'll have maybe some questions which are just to take forward the thoughts have been shared so far. So I think. Let me start with Sheila. That what are the ideal ways for institutes to deploy, use, and consume these 5G labs. We have got some cues about hackathons and other things, but what more can be done, right?
Yeah.
So we can
Okay.
start.
Yeah, maybe some colleges or institutions might already be doing, but nevertheless, I would like to share my thoughts on how best the institutions can utilize them. One, as I think Professor Samir already touched upon, very frankly, I envy the current students. Because the learning tools that they have, we didn't have them when we were in college. Okay. Now that puts an additional challenge to the faculty that they need to make, I mean, offer in a way the students' attention is held. At the same time, students get the best out of the way the course is structured. Okay. Now, especially for this 5G, see, when we studied communication, it was all theory. It was all theory. And I'm sure everybody will appreciate, it's very difficult to imagine how field theory or it works, antenna theory, how does it work? It was impossible to imagine. But today, see, even with the simulators that came in, I think that created a good amount of impact. But now even the tools that are available are even better. You have a 5G lab. Probably if that were there, maybe I would not attend any theory class. I would just sit in the lab all the time. And what I feel is, this is my opinion, that probably for communication students, one course should be there on the one theory combined with both together, there has to be, if not already there, for few credits, there should be one course which covers this, in my opinion. I think that is the best way. That way the students are already on the job, that's how they become industry ready. And they build a product with it. They understand, okay, if they have to deploy a 5G network, what does it take to deploy a private 5G network? That can be one of their mini projects that they do. And the learning that they get in deploying that, probably it takes a couple of hours for somebody out there in the industry to do that, So here is an opportunity for students to do, while in the college, they do what they would otherwise do when they are in the industry. So I think if the course is structured such a way that they get credit for the time they spent in the lab, I think it is a win-win for both. The student get the maximum learning, and then the institutions can also feel very satisfied and proud that the students are industry ready right now. So this is one
Yeah,
of
okay. Yeah, thank you. So yes, I think that has been always the gap, right? What you really said, right? Getting into an industry and then going through a journey of 6 months, right? Getting a training, and nobody giving you a real-time job, because they don't want to, they want you to be very good on those systems because they
Yes,
cost so much, right? So 6 months to 1 year, that journey. I think what you said, right? Now is the time when you use them, these setups wisely. You reduce that, the industry get a day one ready candidate, right?
exactly.
And it's a very big difference, right? And
Yes,
good for the industry, good for the students, good for the entire ecosystem. So I
yes.
think, yeah. So over to you, Dr. Samir, right? I mean, some views on this, how to consume and do these labs.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Banu. So I think we have covered very nice points so far, saying about, okay, having the lab as a perspective for students to be integrating the curriculum. That is one, to give the hands-on. And earlier, we also heard from Professor that it also gives a space for the hackathons and so on. So that is in a way bringing more larger community together. But what I also see, like there are two things at an academia that we see always. One is the academic rigor in the teaching that we have, and that we already discussed that how the 5G lab can help fill the gaps. And it was nicely put by Sheila also that how the students can actually leverage and maybe take full advantage of the 5G lab. That is one. The second critical aspect is also research. And in fact, for the research, I see there is a broader impetus that these 5G labs can essentially bring, because now you are able to understand holistically the ecosystem of 5G and be able to experiment. Only that, okay, we need additionally that you are able to do some innovations, make the changes, deploy them. And that I think we will get to there soon, because we have the software stack, we understand the complexity, but what modules to touch, what to do, going beyond the use cases. I mean, use cases are fun. I mean, in order to bring the uh, ecosystem of development and bringing the startup culture, that's really very good. But if you also have to augment for the research, then we would also want to see what components can essentially be tweaked and you want to be modifying, which is fine with simulators. And that's where, if you see, even as of today, most works come on simulator-based research works that are coming in the 5G or beyond 5G research. But these 5G labs can also work as a research test bed, and that is what we see. And the Bharat 6G and the Bharat 5G missions where we saw, and IISc is also pioneering in the iOS MCN stack, which is also fully open source. And I understand that that's where Niral has also been a partner there, helping contribute towards this open source entire 5G stack. And such a thing would really add on to even all the institutes that are looking towards making the research and not just rely on the simulation results, but also go take it to the test bed, see for the things how they are. And in fact, most of the times we see that what we see on simulator is not matching with what is there on the test bed. And this kind of a test bed really gives that push to say that what we can also do and what we also can achieve. And if you see now, the research also community is moving towards, we want to make TRL ready products rather than just saying, okay, the works are evaluated or hypothesized and come up with some design, but you would also want to have the prototype. And that is where I think the 5G lab, which are also not just use case ready, but also research ready, would be a nice thing. And that's where I see a lot of promise going forward, and especially when we want to enter into the 6G space.
Yeah, I think yes, it's a exciting journey, and I think just going back to our times again, right? There was always a question when we will make any G, right? Okay, so when 3G was done, TD-SCDMA by China in around 2007 and 8, I think that was, when, we used to think that, okay, even China is now 3G, right? So, but yeah, never late, we entered 5G, and definitely the road is towards 6G. And I think these labs and this ecosystem should fuel it, and we should get, more ready towards 6G. I think that is definitely the path. Over to you, Dr. Jagdisha, about, you already said about hackathon and all. So if you can share more views about, how we can consume this lab and move towards, 6G, 5G beyond, how do you say that?
Okay, sir. Okay. So already the earlier speakers almost summarized this question, but maybe I'll just share very minor points here. One thing I notice is, we have the opportunity is to build a data repository or a data set, because when we have a kind of private 5G or kind of use case lab, where we have an end-to-end 5G system, starting from the devices, the radio core, and where we build applications, etc. So we may, using our local applications, we may capture the data. For instance, maybe data related to GNB RAN logs, or some MEC traces, or some parameters from the QoE quality of experience related to augmented reality, virtual reality use cases, or maybe the camera use cases. So we can build such repositories that may help us or someone in the future to analyze that data and do some predictions, or get some inference based on that. That is one point that came to my mind. And also, in general, this private 5G or use case lab, will act as a sandbox for students, or these days students are thinking more about starting as a startup. So they want to do something, try something, test. All this can be done in this kind of setup. So because nothing is matured at the initial stage, so they can check or test here in these end-to-end systems. So that's what I said. It can act as a sandbox for university ecosystem, maybe students or some alumni who has started their startups, or somebody else. In general, for startups also, it can act as a sandbox. So these are the 2 points I wanted to share with respect to this. That is, how can we use these labs in a better way?
Yes, sir. I think, yeah, I mean, many points, what were in the questions have already been right about the upskilling of students, right about giving them the fundamental knowledge, giving them the industrial utility side of experience, and because developing a program or a product in a lab, and actually the product working in the real time scenario, right? It's a huge difference. So everything works in lab, as it said, right? And that product, when it becomes to that commercial grade and works 24/7 in any of the deployed site, actually then then it qualifies as a product. So yeah, that's a journey, but definitely it has to start in this ecosystem, and then connect to that ecosystem. Definitely, about that thing. So yeah, we have, I think, commonly talked about it will fuel the startup ecosystem. I would just extend that question again to all, starting with you, ma'am, that yes, it is known now. It is known to, I think, everyone. We have also covered this point again and again, that it will fuel the startup ecosystem. Uh, but as a different entities, right? As a owner of these 5G setups, how would you support this externally and internally, and encourage, right, that more commercial grade products, not the lab grade products, right? The products which can be taken from that lab to the certification level and further to be deployed in the real-time industries, whether this is 5G drones or 5G cameras. As we discussed, right, we had some success studies about 5G drones, which are part of the this lab ecosystem. Is again a startup product coming out of an incubation center from an engineering college. But then you got when you get a space, you get motivation, you work hard, you actually create that product, as a product which can be utilized by these kind of setups or the industrial setups. So, ma'am, how we know Art Park is doing a lot of things, right? But just to tell our viewers and to us that how would you support this startup ecosystem, not internally but also in a region, externally also, or maybe for anywhere from India, how it will happen?
Banu, in that perspective, the lab here in Art Park has a definite charter. Unlike the institutions where I know most of the faculty in these institutions juggle between their academic load as well as administrative load, in addition to that managing the lab. I know it is not easy. Whereas one difference here in Art Park is, though we are promoted by IISc, we do not have that academic load. Our main charter is to have the 5G lab, evangelize the technology, get more users who can use the lab, be it innovators, students, researchers, startups, SMEs. So that in that sense, our charter is very clear. So we have, and it's about little less than 1.5 years since we started our work. And as I think Shiva mentioned, the last 1 year where we have put in a lot of effort to bring up both the labs here, the Bharat 5G and the Karnataka 5G, there have been ups and downs, there have been challenges. Yeah, and in parallel, we have been working very proactively to make the community aware of the facilities that are here. And I would say 3 or 4 months down the line, when we started last year, we have had startups who are coming and utilizing our lab. There are different types of startups and users of our lab. There are some of them who basically they have built a use case, but they need a platform where they can carry out the testing and demonstration of that. Testing to validate their own solution and demonstration for their prospective customers. So we have had users of that category. And then there are users of another category who are developing technology for the 5G itself. For example, developing certain security solutions for the cellular network or the 5G network. They need a platform where they need an end-to-end system where they can come and validate their solution. They need to check the security of the RAN. They need to test the security of the core. So here is a platform where they can carry out the testing. And then there are companies which are developing, for example, the 5G core for a specific industry 5.0 use case. It is not a generic 5G core, but it is specific for industry 5.0. They don't need other functionalities, general purpose functionalities, but they need focused functions which are relevant for industry 5.0. They need proper RAN or the radio network where they can test the interoperability of their core. So here is a platform. So these are the types of startups who are coming and utilizing our lab. So our lab is open for everybody, as I said, students, researchers, innovators, startups, SMEs. Our website, we have a link where they can register, and we have a very simple lab user agreement. It is meant just to help us understand, because each of the users' requirements are very different. So we need to understand what their requirements are so that we can provide them the necessary infrastructure. We need to know the timelines of their requirements so that we can schedule the usage accordingly. And they just fill up the form. Then we get in touch with them and give them the time slots and make sure that the facilities are available for them. So this is how we make our setup available for the users. And DOT is also, I think DOT has recently started, or they are reaching out to the startups and asking what facilities they would need. So we are getting a lot of queries through that channel also. Yeah, this is how we are evangelizing about how the community can use our lab.
Oh, right. So I think, yeah, it is a collaborative effort, right? There is. So I think, to you, Dr. Sameer and Dr. Jagdisha. So first, Dr. Sameer, I think, what ma'am has said, yes, there is no shared load in the artwork concept, right? But maybe not the same at your, and, so how do you see, right? Because now the Bharat 5G lab setup is already done, right? So it is already there. Now you have to actually utilize, run it. And I think that's a very good point, right? That you have dedicated resources, a separate setup model, right? And extend it, right? I mean, how do you see that, how that, can be done?
Yeah, I think Sheila ma'am got the right point. In fact, at academia, we have a lot of things, regular teaching plus the admin works, everything. But in fact, this lab is essentially, like I said, it's an impetus. And the way that we see, like, okay, we have the academic load, but when my teaching becomes more effective because of the lab, and that's a win-win situation, right? And whatever it takes to make the teaching successful, we would want to be investing our time. And although we don't have necessarily dedicated resource, but I think DOT has taken nice initiatives in this regard. Essentially, they did a lot of training activities. In fact, from Niral itself, Shiva also gave us some training, which tried to fill the gap first, and then help us do what is essential to bridge the gap in the teaching, which is a win-win situation. Although It may add to some additional load, but in the long run, it is going to be a lot more beneficial. Second, once we have this lab, in fact, if you see from the other side now, the lab gives you a impetus also to say that we can further the research and apply for better proposals on doing what we can actually showcase rather than just saying we will do that on simulator, right? So that's a very nice positive angle that the lab also brings. I think that's where it is more well invested time and well invested infra for the institute and for the faculty as well. And that's where I see that the lab, although becomes a bit of a burden, but it is going to be a very, very fruitful activity to engage in the long run. And in fact, we have had the hackathons, and in the last year's hackathon, I think we almost had 10 or 20 different ideas that go from our institute, and two of them made it to the next round. And in fact, we also were able to contribute to the ITU AI hackathon through the things that we could derive from the 5G use case lab. So that way, I see there is a lot of positives to take and chew on than thinking it as a load.
Yeah, I think great, sir. I think but this is going beyond, right? This is going across the international level, and I would say like that, right? So making our voice, over there. Dr. Jagdisha, I mean, the same question, right? How do you, would be, planning to utilize with your, with your academia and this industrial part?
Yes, sir. So I think in the context of 5G use case lab, institutes may have one or two very specific themes. For example, specific themes to research on. For instance, maybe edge intelligence is one area where we may try to develop something, maybe inference offloading to the MEC or something related to, or maybe in another instance, related to robotics or maybe related to 5G camera. All these, one of these or multiple of these areas we can target, or maybe designing a digital twin for the end-to-end system like RAN or core or anything else for a specific use case. So that is what we can think of to fuel up our research. If we try to focus on one or two specific use cases and we have multiple problems under that, then that may make us very special in this particular use case development. Each institute can think about that. That's what my surface level thoughts on this. Most of the points are covered earlier. So this is an additional point that I want to add to the discussion here.
But true, sir. I think that was a question, but now it becomes a point. Like you said, right? We have now, 5G lab setups which were given with a set of use cases, right? Set of use cases as part of the deployment, right? Done by DOT. But to extend it from here, make it these more futuristic with industry focus, right? As you said, right? And maybe when some port specific, or it is like manufacturing specific, or it is like mining specific, right? So I think that way the entire ecosystem from academia is fueling different potentials, and it can be any, but that focus would be would be more targeted, and it would give more applications and use cases, and you can utilize your resources well. So with the less investment. So yeah, I think all the points are covered. Towards the industry side, now to Shiva, right? That we see these industrial grade 5G labs will be key enabler, for the students, right, to develop industry ready devices and products. Uh, So how we are working, right, at Niral, we are working closely with institutes in building such environments. That is question one. And second is, how do you already touched that point, right? But you can elaborate in that, right? How do we open up, gates to the industry, right? In the real time deployment of these products and devices, we build the environment, we work on a product life cycle, right? And then finally, we open up the gates towards the industry. So I think you can share your views, so how that is a kind of a common journey, not only Needle, but that's how the process will flow. But yeah, definitely more specific, we can give how we are doing it as an example.
Yeah, thanks, Manu. So, to start with, right, let me define what is an industrial grade product, right? If we can, it should have some brass tack features. Like, let me start with configuration, right? So, any system need to have a proper approach to configure the system so that the system can be deployed in different scenarios and with different capacities. So that is something it is quite essential. And the second aspect, what I would emphasis on is the stability and capacity. So whether the system that you have can support n number of UEs, can it create PDUs in a flow as the UEs are connected, and to give little more flexibility, like how much of dedicated bearers, default bearers you can connect, because all the new set of application, what we talk about, IMS, MCX, or even the video analytic applications that are driven from the edge, all require this flexibility. So this is what I would say is the characteristic of a product or a solution that is industrial grade. And we talked about many of the advanced set of applications, features that need to be supported on the infrastructure. So let me again take one example that was discussed here, like you want to go into an intelligent surveillance, right? So to support that, it's an idea that many startups or colleges, they wanted to try it out. So the next question is, can the infrastructure support it, and what is required from the infrastructure to support that? So let me highlight few points. Say, when we are detecting these different images and we want a better focus, then the first characteristic of the infrastructure is that it should support a flexible feature where you can upgrade or downgrade the PDU traffic or a capacity handling scenario. So this is quite important from a industrial grade system. And another aspect I want to highlight here is that how are the different triggers handled in terms of, say, if you are handling about 100 UE calls, 200 UE calls. So what are all the triggers in terms of throughput and other characteristics that can be handled in the system, and how a good feedback can be passed to third-party application so that the third-party application can interact some additional feedback, and the whole of the infrastructure on a dynamic real-time basis is configurable. So I went a little deeper and then highlighted about what is that an industrial grade system need to handle to the thinking or solution design from a campuses and from startups point of view. So, and the next question was with respect to how are we working and leveraging these labs to suit more for any industry-specific solution. So as highlighted, our effort will be always, since we had in the last 2-3 years an opportunity to work with campuses and enterprises, definitely our effort and endeavor would be to listen to the industry, see what are all the solutions the industry is expecting, and then pass those feedback to campuses, specifically the startup, and get solution and devices which can be deployed back into these private 5G setups. And definitely our focus would be on edge, AI as part of edge, and how different solution and devices can interact with the 5G infrastructure. So these will be our focus areas, and we will definitely strive more to act as a bridge between campuses and big enterprise deployment, and see how solution developed at startups can be deployed as part of these big rollouts that we are expecting in the near future. Thank you, Banu.
Yeah, thanks, Shiva. Yeah, yes, I think the depth is required, right? Because the depth is required to actually show that why such setups are required, right? And how critical is to create the technology, right? In terms of packet level, as you were mentioning. So it's a good, to show that need industry grade setups to create industry grade products. And yes, definitely. Second part, yes, we at what we are trying to do is one side setting up these 5G setups, right? And coming up with the industry mindset, and also from our experience of deploying the real time private 5G networks in energy plants or mining, and understanding the real time challenges and the customer requirements, actually that is what we bring apart from technology to the setup. So I think it was a good session. The last session we would definitely go to now the Q&A session. So I have a couple of questions. I would say yes, Dr. Sameer, if you can switch on your videos, and I think you have some questions you can ask directly.
Yeah, thank you, Bhanu. I'm sorry to say that we have extended the time beyond
Yes.
scheduled time. 30 minutes have gone, and I have a class
Right.
also now at 1:30.
Right.
So I need to leave the meeting very soon.
Yes.
So the question is that, we have heard a lot, and we also, appreciate all the work done by DOT and Niral and Signaltron, all the team. However, we have seen that there are still kind of concerns from the users, when our students and our project fellows are trying to use the system. For example, the range of the systems are quite limited. We are unable to take out the drone outside the environment of the lab to capture some videos and then transmit it back to the lab and do some processing. Or we are unable to tweak the specifications a little bit for doing some innovations, etc. As Sameer Kulkarni was mentioning. How do we go? Of course, there are a lot of potentials, a lot of challenges. So how do we solve these kind of issues, which will be required to take these from a steady item or a steady setup to a research setup, basically?
Right. So I would like you put in the chat box. Let me put specific to Sheila ma'am. The question is that about the indoor limited connectivity, right? And how the drones and applications we can extend to the outer thing. So that is the question for you.
Okay. What I would suggest is, see, in Bharat 5G Lab, as we know, the specification, the range is supposed to be 50 meters. And flying a drone within 50 meters is not a very, it's a very, very, very limited. So my suggestion is, okay, one is that 50 meters, and also to fly a drone, we need height coverage also. The radio coverage needs to take care of the height also. So my suggestion would be you test the drone testing on the Bharat 5G. You do it one on the lab table. There are enough things to be done. For example, the streaming of the video, getting the video. That is anyway, even if we are flying the drone, that is a necessary step. So this on the lab table, whatever can be done can be done. And then there are some, even when we are flying the drone, we do it in steps. First, we do it on the lab table. Then we do what we call as auto navigation. We define the waypoints and then let the drone only take those waypoints and come back. So that can be limited to few feet, maybe 2 or 3 feet the drone goes, 2 or 3, I mean, we can define a rectangle. So better to do that. Then switch over to a public 5G, public SIM. Get an Airtel SIM or a Jio SIM, and with that you try the drone. So that would be my recommendation when you don't have any other parallel private 5G setup. Better to do, we can do it on the public 5G. In fact, many of the teams that I know, and even in our lab, we do testing of the drones on the
that's true.
public
5G is
network.
fine. Yeah, but then only thing is we will not be able to take out the data directly to our core and then do some work with the core. So
that maybe it can be done in a
interfacing is
little
also,
roundabout way, not directly, in a little roundabout way. It can be done.
Okay, thank you.
And I think, sir, there is a provision of spectrum sandbox, right, for creating a outdoor, captive network for research. So if you apply for that, right, then you can put a radio outside also with your own setup. So that is, I think, what government extended. And I think the second question is to you, Dr. Samid. Can you outline some experiments as a part of curriculum for 5G hands-on using the setup?
Yeah, I mean, this will be very extensive if I have to speak, but I mean, I would be happy to share what we have. If any specific, I can share that offline. But let me.
I think probably offline also will be helping. Yeah, we'll connect with you. But
so yeah, let me tell you, like the very beginning, we start them to just do the analysis of the call flow setup. And I think that covers extensively the L1, L2, L3 layers that the student has to understand. And not just that, then they will be able to focus more on, okay, what are the handshakes that are actually happening at different layers? And this has actually helped students understand the 5G ecosystem a lot than just using the simulators. Because now they can see the Wireshark logs, analyze all the call flows, see how the L1, L2 things are happening, and the handshakes that happens, especially with the CUDU architecture, with what components are talking, like what is the prerequisite for a DU to be there, or what is the dependency of core and DU. All of these aspects come to light when you typically analyze this, capture the Wireshark logs and analyze them, which otherwise wouldn't have been that easier. To some degree, we could do it an S3 UV ransom thing, but here now they are going to, and I can say that, okay, switch off this module, or you want to see what is the dependency of the core, you can turn off a specific VM in the core and see what is the impact. So that way, that hands-on experience helps a lot more invasively learn the things. So this is first. And second, in fact, if you see, there are a lot of open source projects that have been, especially if we focus on the 5G lab setup that we have, we want to build the use cases. There are so many use cases that students can start to bring. And let's say a very simple thing would be like saying, I want to develop an app that is able to monitor the current situation in the lab. Especially we have been given the temperature weather sensors. You augment them with additional sensors, capture this data, analyze and say, okay, what I can do as an inference. So these kind of use case applications we can build and float them as projects for the students to do. So that is where we are seeing the benefit. And that's where the lacuna here is essentially the closed source thing where students would not be able to do much at this point. And that's where we are also working with like the open source test beds. Like I mentioned earlier about the iOS MCN as a part, which students can try to bring it. I mean, we have the servers now, the infra is there. You want to be using that, help them build that infra, understand, okay, what components are, and interoperability as a study, because you have the radio, right? Now you want to communicate with different components. So And that those are like not trivial. I mean, it may look very trivial, but when you really see that interoperability is a big aspect, and some of our students are trying it here, and we have not had success so far. I'll be honest with that. But that gives an opportunity to experiment and see the things in practice, and that's where I see there is a lot of benefit that comes with this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think yes. So, sir, the next maybe we'll take it offline with you. The question to Shiva. Shiva, yes, yes.
Banu, one thing related to all the question of API support, right? I think initially, compared to the initial set of API offering, it is good that these questions are coming up from the campuses. But as I see, people have started using that in various use cases. And definitely, as I said in the video analytic case, the configurability of the PDUs, the speed, QoS, network slicing. So anything related to that, as we go past, depending upon the use cases and the features that need to be tried, definitely APIs can be provided from the infrastructure.
Sure. I think we don't have any other question. If still someone wants to ask any question, so we can just have it, or else we will definitely close it. Yes, we have crossed it, but it was really a kind of a discussion. So I think it was. I don't see any question coming up. So it was a great discussion, and it would help all the participants, whether it's students, faculty, researchers, colleges, universities, even industry, right? Even we also part of it to to see the potential of setting up these labs, and how can we create, or I would say rather, like 5G playgrounds, right? The more something like a fun name to this, to the Gen Zs, right? That is the 5G playground. You come and do whatever you want to do and create something different. And yeah, so I think that is it. And yeah, sorry, but others say Majboor, I'm a sales guy. I cannot resist sales pitch. So we at Niral can create customized industry grade 5G use case setups on the research based on the need and requirement. And for any query, just reach out to us. We would be happy not to help on the new things, but on, as Shiva said, about the how the extensions would happen to the setup which is already done. We would be happy to help. Actually, we are at the end, but before that, if I can request everyone to just switch on their videos, so we can just see, that would be a request if we can do that, to just have our, click a snapshot and say goodbye to all. And thanks to all the panel members for their time and for sharing their thoughts, and definitely for the audience to have such a be patient to and listen to all of us for such a long session. But I think it was really good session, and we would see that how we can create more sessions, which is one level up of what we have discussed today, so that more practical things come into the sessions. And that was it. So I think we'll close now, and a great day to all, and thank you all once again. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Niral team, for organizing this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.